What if your soul isn't shaped by what you say, or even what you believe, but by what you see? Not just once, but over and over again. Every image, every scroll, every scene, every glance that lingers too long. Jesus said, "The eye is the lamp of the body." It lights the path inward. It opens the door to your heart. And whatever you keep watching, you start becoming. So let me ask you, quietly, what have your eyes been feeding your soul today? Are you letting in what brings you peace, or what slowly steals it? Because the things you look at, they don't just pass through you, they plant seeds. They shape your thoughts, and soon enough, they become part of you. And maybe you don't need more willpower, you just need cleaner windows, clearer vision, and the courage to turn your gaze toward what heals. Because what you see is what your soul starts to seek. Why this matters deeply. You wouldn't leave the front door of your house wide open. You wouldn't let just anyone walk into your bedroom, or sit at your dinner table, or whisper into your child's ear. But every single day, we leave the gateway to our soul, completely unguarded, our eyes. We scroll through strangers' lives. We consume rage, comparison, temptation, fear, without even realizing it. We call it entertainment. We call it staying informed. But it's not harmless. It's shaping something inside us, silently, powerfully, daily. And the change doesn't shout. It creeps in. You start to feel more anxious and don't know why. You become more reactive, more distracted, more numb. But blame it on being tired. Jesus wasn't talking about sin when he said, "The eye is the lamp of the body." He was talking about influence, about what you allow in. Because whatever fills your eyes fills your mind. And whatever fills your mind leads your heart. This is not just about screens. It's about your spirit. It's about your focus. It's about the quiet rewiring of your desires. One scroll, one image, one moment at a time. That's why this conversation matters. Because your soul is not shaped in a single prayer. It's shaped through hundreds of unseen decisions, especially the ones that pass through your eyes. So today, we're not here to guilt you. We're here to wake you up, to show you what's really happening, and help you reclaim what's being lost. In the next few minutes, we'll walk through 5 powerful truths about what you're feeding your soul and how to choose differently, not for perfection, but for peace, for clarity, and for closeness with the one who made you. Because the way you see is shaping the way you live. And if you want to walk in light, you have to start with what you're letting in. 1. What you watch shapes what you worship. Where your gaze rests, your soul begins to bow. You don't even notice it at first. You're just passing time, watching a show, scrolling through your feed, taking in the world, one image at a time. But something deeper is happening. Something invisible, something powerful. Your soul is learning. Your affections are being trained. Your desires are being rewired. And it's all starting with your eyes. Jesus said, "The eye is the lamp of the body." He wasn't talking about physical eyesight. He was speaking of focus, attention, what we consistently behold. Because what we behold, we begin to become. And in a world full of distraction, temptation, and performance, our eyes are constantly being pulled in every direction. But the truth is, you can't keep watching what the world loves and expect your heart to stay anchored in heaven. It doesn't work that way. If you spend hours feeding your eyes with content full of chaos, lust, fear, or comparison, don't be surprised when your peace disappears, when worship feels dull, when God seems far. You didn't lose your faith, you just shifted your gaze. And over time, your soul followed. Because what we watch, we start to want. What we focus on, we grow attached to. And without even realizing it, we start worshiping with our attention, not through songs, but through our screens. The question is no longer, is this bad? The deeper question is, what is this making me love? Because attention is not neutral, it's devotion in disguise. And that's why this moment matters. Not to make you feel guilty, but to wake you up. To invite you to take your gaze back and give it to the one who made you. So here's one small but powerful shift. Take 1 hour a day. No screens, no noise, no scrolling. A visual fast, not to punish yourself, but to remember who you are when the world gets quiet. Walk, pray, write, or just sit in silence. Let your heart breathe again. And at the end of that hour, ask, what do I feel drawn to now? Peace? Stillness? God? Then look back at your screen time for the day, not to judge it, but to understand what you've really been feeding your soul. Because what you give your eyes to, you give your heart to. And what you give your heart to, you will worship. So maybe the journey back to God doesn't begin with doing more. It begins with looking less and looking higher. But if what you see is shaping your desires, what is it doing to your inner life? Let's take this deeper, because it's not just about what we're watching, it's about what we're letting in. That brings us to lesson 2. The eyes are a doorway to the heart. 2. The eyes are a doorway to the heart. Your eyes are not just for seeing, they're for shaping what you feel. You don't have to say a word to let something change your heart. All it takes is what you see. It enters quietly. No knock, no warning, just a glance. That turns into a gaze. That becomes a habit. And what starts with your eyes always ends up in your heart. Jesus wasn't exaggerating when he said, the eye is the lamp of the body. Because light doesn't just touch a room, it fills it. In the same way, what your eyes take in fills your thoughts, colors your emotions, and starts shaping how you see everything else. You've felt it, haven't you? One bad headline, and suddenly your day feels heavy. One perfect photo, and suddenly your life feels small. One dramatic post, and suddenly your peace disappears. It's not magic, it's input, and every input has an impact. Just like food fuels your body, visual content fuels your soul. And not everything that tastes good is good for you. You don't have to watch something evil for it to be harmful. Some things are just loud, distracting, empty, or full of subtle messages that leave you feeling discontent, without even knowing why. And the more we consume without question, the more we carry emotions that were never ours to begin with. That's why guarding your eyes is not about fear, it's about freedom. Because when your heart is full of what's true, you respond differently. You breathe easier. You hear God more clearly. Let's start small, simple, intentional. Tomorrow morning, don't open your phone. Not yet. Not for the first 10 minutes. Instead, open a verse. Open a window. Open a prayer. Open your hands. But don't open your feed. Let the first thing your eyes see be something that brings light. A psalm. A promise. A quiet moment in worship. Even just one deep breath that says, God, I want to see you before I see the world today. Then notice the difference. You're not rushing. You're not reacting. You're not already comparing or defending. You're present, peaceful, rooted in something real. That's the power of guarding what you see, especially first, because what you see first often leads everything that follows. And if your eyes are shaping your emotions, what are they doing to your sense of worth? Let's go even deeper, because sometimes what looks beautiful can still leave your soul broken. That brings us to lesson 3. Not everything that looks good is good for you. 3. Not everything that looks good is good for you. Not everything that's beautiful is safe for your soul. Some things shine, some things impress, some things look like light, but quietly drain your peace. And in a world obsessed with aesthetics, with vibes, and curated perfection, we're taught to believe, if it looks good, it must be good. If it's popular, it must be worth watching. If it's trending, it must be meaningful. But Jesus never measured things by how they looked. He measured them by what they produced. And some of the most attractive things in the world are also the most spiritually empty. Culture glamorizes chaos. It sells anxiety with a filter. It packages insecurity with perfect lighting. And most of us don't even notice until our hearts start feeling off. You scroll through reels that seem harmless, but you're left comparing. You binge a beautiful series, but end up restless, disconnected from God. You admire a lifestyle, but suddenly feel like your life isn't enough. It's not because you're weak. It's because your soul was never meant to feed on performance. It was made to feed on presence, on peace, on the quiet nearness of God. But when your eyes stay full of what sparkles and your spirit stays empty of what's sacred, you slowly begin to crave the wrong things. And the worst part is, you may not even realize it's happening because everything looks so beautiful. That's why discernment isn't about legalism. It's about freedom. It's the courage to say, this looks good, but it doesn't leave me well. And that question alone might just protect your heart in ways you didn't know it needed. Take time today to be honest. Open your feed, your watch list, your favorite shows or creators, and ask yourself, one by one, how does this make me feel when it's over? Empowered? Peaceful? Or more anxious? More distracted? More insecure? Then take a small but powerful step. Choose 3 accounts, shows, or creators that look good, but leave your soul feeling worse, and either mute them, unfollow them, or replace them with something that brings peace, worship, wisdom, stillness, laughter that's clean, content that brings you back to yourself and back to God. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being awake, because your soul is too valuable to feed on noise. You weren't made to admire chaos. You were made to carry peace, and that peace begins with what you choose to look at. But what happens when we let in too much noise for too long? What happens when the soul becomes numb? Not because of one big moment, but because we never stop the stream? Let's talk about boundaries, because the next truth might be one of the most practical of all. 4. Protecting your eyes protects your mind. 4. Protecting your eyes protects your mind. The mind can only hold peace if the eyes stop feeding it chaos. There's a moment when it's all just too much. Too many images, too many opinions, too many flashing screens, breaking news, algorithm-driven clips, and you don't even realize you're drowning because everyone else is too. But somewhere deep inside, you feel it, the mental clutter, the low-grade anxiety, the racing thoughts that never stop, the way silence starts to feel uncomfortable, and peace begins to feel unfamiliar. It's not that you're weak. It's not that you've failed spiritually. It's that your mind was never designed to absorb this much noise, and most of it came in through your eyes. Jesus said, "The eye is the lamp of the body." But in today's world, our lamps are always on, always flickering, and always exposed to 1,000 tiny fires. You see enough violence, you become desensitized. You see enough perfection, you start to hate your reality. You see enough fear, your baseline becomes worry. And before long, what once grieved your spirit doesn't even make you flinch. That's not growth, that's numbness. And when numbness replaces discernment, we stop guarding what matters. We stop noticing what's damaging us. We stop hearing the voice of God, not because He stopped speaking, but because we stopped creating space to listen. This isn't about legalism. It's about mental freedom, spiritual clarity, emotional breathing room. You don't need more willpower. You need fewer windows open. Here's how we take it back. Not with force, but with quiet boundaries. No screens during meals. Reclaim those moments. Taste your food. Look your loved ones in the eye. Let your body and mind be in the same room for once. No toxic content before bed. Your brain wasn't meant to fall asleep to chaos. Let the last thing your eyes see be something that brings peace. Scripture, a psalm, a single silent prayer. Make stillness your new habit. Choose 5 minutes a day. No phone, no music, no input. At first, it will feel like boredom. Then, it will feel like breathing again. And over time, your clarity will return, your reactions will soften, and your thoughts will finally have room to slow down. Because what you allow into your eyes doesn't just touch your mind, it forms it. Protecting your eyes isn't about shutting down your world. It's about building a home inside yourself that God can dwell in. So don't wait for burnout. Don't wait until you can't think straight. Start now. Small, slow. Because peace doesn't shout. It arrives where the noise ends. And once your mind quiets down, something beautiful begins to stir. Desire, direction, devotion. You begin to long again. But this time, not for distraction, for God. And that leads us to one final truth. 5. What you see, you begin to seek. 5. What you see, you begin to seek. The eyes don't just observe, they awaken desire. Desire doesn't start in your heart, it starts in your gaze. You look at something long enough, and without meaning to, you start wanting it. You start imagining it. You start chasing it. That's the quiet power of the eye. It doesn't force you, it forms you. And the more often you see something, the more normal it becomes, the more attractive it seems. And eventually, the more you start building your life around it, you may not even realize you're doing it, but slowly, desire starts to drift. It drifts away from what's sacred, away from what's simple, away from God's presence, not in rebellion, but in distraction. And when desire drifts, so does devotion. That's why guarding your eyes is not just about morality. It's about protecting the direction of your life. Because you don't just follow what you believe, you follow what you behold. If your eyes are full of the world, your heart will start to chase what the world worships. Comfort, control, approval, image. But if your eyes are fixed on Christ, you begin to hunger for things that last, things that heal, things that carry eternity inside them. And the shift starts with one question. What am I letting awaken my desire? Because every piece of content, every image, every headline, every video is trying to lead you somewhere. So let's stop pretending we're immune. Let's stop pretending our eyes are passive. They're not. They're powerful. They're sacred, and they're shaping what your soul will run after next. Here's one question to carry into your day. Before you click, scroll, or watch, pause, just for a second, and ask, will this bring me closer to God or closer to noise? That question is a filter, a compass, a boundary with grace, because not everything has to be evil to be unhelpful. Sometimes it's just unnecessary, just unanchored, just too much. So filter your feed, filter your input, filter what you let rise into your imagination, not out of fear, but out of faith. Faith that your soul deserves better, that your eyes weren't made for endless scrolling. They were made to see beauty that lasts, to seek what is true, to be captivated by the presence of God, not just entertained by the world. And when you start filtering your attention through that lens, your desires will begin to shift, and your life will quietly begin to change. Because what you choose to see today, you will begin to seek tomorrow. And once your desires align with what's holy, the path forward becomes clear. Not louder, not more crowded, but more peaceful. Let's bring everything we've learned together, in the stillness, in the summary, in the invitation that waits at the end of this journey. You don't become who you want to be. You become what you give your eyes to. We often think transformation happens in big, dramatic moments. A breakthrough, a revival, a moment that shakes the earth beneath us. But the soul isn't shaped like that. It's not built in noise. It's built in rhythm, in repetition, in what we allow in day after day after day. Your soul is not formed in the spotlight. It's formed in the scroll, in the quiet clicks, in the morning habits, in what you choose to feed your heart with when no one else is watching. So if you feel distant from God, if your peace has faded, if your thoughts feel cloudy, this may be your invitation back. Not through effort, not through guilt, but through attention. Because what you give your eyes to, you give your life to. And every time you choose stillness over stimulation, truth over distraction, worship over worry, you are training your heart to return home again. Jesus said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." But purity doesn't begin in the heart. It begins with the eyes. The heart follows what it sees. And what it sees, it begins to love. So if you want peace, start there. If you want clarity, start there. If you want to feel close to God again, don't wait for a miracle. Just begin with what you let in. Guard the gateway. Reclaim your attention. And watch how your soul starts to breathe again. If this message stirred something in your spirit, if you felt a gentle tug, a quiet yes inside your heart, don't let it fade. You don't need to change everything today. You just need to take one small sacred step. Start protecting what you let in. Start choosing with intention, and let that choice lead you back to presence. And if you're ready to go deeper, to explore the kind of stillness where God's voice becomes clear again, then watch the next video in this series, The Hidden Power of Stillness, Why God Speaks in Silence. Let's keep walking together, one quiet choice at a time, one sacred gaze at a time, until your soul remembers what peace feels like.